Hey guys, it's Keiko Cup, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to draw a basic manga face. This tutorial can be followed either digitally or traditionally, so if you're sketching by paper, that's completely fine as well. This tutorial is made to be able to use it for both kinds of medium. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, so to start out, first you're gonna draw a circle, which is pretty basic. You can do it pretty sketchy, so it doesn't have to be perfect because it's just a guide. If you're drawing on the computer, you can also use the circle tool, but it's not really necessary. Or by hand, you can use a cup to trace a circle, but again, just whatever you feel comfortable with. Then next you're gonna do a kind of cross through the circle, and this is gonna be your guide for drawing the eyes, mouth, and nose. So you're gonna draw one vertical line right down the middle of the circle, and then you're gonna draw another line going horizontal a little bit below the center of the circle. And then after that, for the sides of the face, you're going to just add, for the chin, two lines going down on the sides of the circle underneath the horizontal line. After that, you're gonna draw the chin as I showed here. It's kind of like an egg shape, so think of like an oval. There's kind of like a curve on the top part, then it goes in a little bit, but you can kind of think of however you want. And you should try to make it as even as you can on both sides. So as you can see, I'm drawing it here. I messed up on the first try a little bit, but then I'm going on the second try. Again, it's okay if you have to make it kind of sketchy and then erase after. There's nothing wrong with drawing messily because you can always clean it up later. So yeah, there I have the chin. I make it as even as I can on both sides. And after that, I'm just gonna go in and draw the neck, which on my part, I basically draw two curved lines going inward, and the lines start about the middle of each of the half sections. As you can see, I'm drawing the dotted lines here. Some people make the neck thicker or thinner, it depends on your style, so you can kind of do that however you like to as well. Just make sure it has this inward curve shape. So the next part is the nose, which is a little bit above the circle. I'm just doing kind of a sloping down shape to shape the nose, but a lot of manga artists also just use a dot. It depends how detailed you kind of want to get with it. I like doing kind of a sloping shape to show the shape in the nose. And then after that, you're gonna start to go into drawing the eyes. So what I do, or what I used to do when I first started, is I would draw an oval kind of shape like this in the very middle of the X. And then after that, you're going to draw two more oval shapes of the exact same size on both sides, again following the horizontal line in the circle. And then once more, just half of those two shapes on the outsides. And the reason you want to do this is to make sure you have the spacing correct on the eyes, and you're going to use it as a guide to make the eyes even. So after that, I'm going in to draw the top lid of the eye, which is basically a sloping shape going up and then a sloping shape going down. And the way you want to do this is you want to follow kind of the shape of the circle that you made and use it as a guide to draw inside the circle. And I feel like that makes things a lot easier and it makes it a lot neater as well. So then you're going to do the same thing on the other side as well, but basically reversed. There are many ways you can draw the eye shape. I'm doing it this way because this character kind of has a bubbly personality. I might do another video in the future kind of showing how to draw different eye shapes as well. So yeah, you can kind of just do it like that. If you want to make the eyes more even, a trick I recommend is looking in the mirror at your drawing, holding up your sketch in the mirror and see where it's not even. I feel like that helps tremendously if you want to get it more even. And now I'm drawing the bottom of the eyelids, which is basically on the bottom of the circle, like that. And it's kind of like a triangular, round shape. Also, another important point, to be able to draw both eyes evenly, you want to have to draw them at the same time. So a lot of beginner artists kind of draw the eyes at different times, or they kind of complete one eye and then leave the other eye for afterwards, and then they realize they just can't get it even, which is really frustrating. So I recommend that you draw both eyes at the same time. Drawing up both at the same time, it makes it much easier to make the eyes even. So yeah, make sure don't draw a whole eye and then draw the whole other eye, because it's going to be much harder to make the eyes even. Okay, so next I'm drawing just basically the inside of the eye, which is an oval shape for this one. Again, there are a lot of different ways you can draw the eye shape inside, but I'm just doing kind of an oval shape for this character. She has like very large kind of shoujo eyes, so that's why I'm choosing this shape for that. You can do it more circular or more, you know, there are just a lot of different ways to do it. For this one, I drew the ovals for the guides really big because she kind of has like really big eyes. However, if you want to draw characters with smaller eyes, you can make the circle smaller but use the same technique to space it out and then use it as a guide to draw the eyes. So now I'm just kind of cleaning things up here, as you can see. I'm erasing some of the guides, and then after that I'm going to be able to go in and do some more detail. So yeah, it's good to use the guides and then kind of clean up as you go as well. I feel like that can make things easier, especially if you're drawing traditionally. I think it's a little bit easier if you're doing it digitally because you can have like one layer for the guides and then one for the actual detail, but this is like also a guide for if you're sketching by hand as well. So now I'm going to use the middle vertical line to draw the mouth, as you can see here, which is just like in the middle between the nose and the bottom of the chin, basically. So that's how you would space it out. And I'm just doing kind of like a simple smile with a line underneath for the lip, or to indicate the lip. Alright, so now that this is more cleaned up, I'm able to go in and do some more detail on the outside of the eye, especially the eyelashes, which I'm doing here now. I'm not quite sure how to explain how to do the eyelashes. You just do like a few quick strokes, kind of like curve shapes going up like that. And you can add as many or as little as you want as well. It all depends on your character. She's pretty girly, so I give her a lot of eyelashes, but you can give the character less if you want as well. Again, also you're working on the details on both sides at the same time, so you can make sure that it ends up even when you have the finished product as well. So now I'm also going in to do eyelashes on the bottom too. I usually just add like 2 on the bottom, and for this sketch I have 4 on the top. But again, the number can depend on like what you're drawing, so you don't have to be super exact about it. Now I'm going in to add the eyelids, which just basically follow the shape of the eye. It's pretty simple, it's just basically like a line following the shape of the eye. I break up the line a little bit too, just to make it not too strong. And then I add these 2 top lines to show kind of like the eyelid, but you can do that if you want or not, it's not really necessary either. Then the eyebrows, which is just basically a line again. Make sure to keep it within the face and try to keep it even using the vertical line guide that you made earlier. And this also just follows the shape of the eye, as I said before. Alright, after that I'm just going to add a little bit more detail under the chin. I'm basically just adding a little bit of shading using some line cross-hatchings going diagonally. And it's good to keep the lines within the shape of the neck and the face as much as you can as well. I just make it a little bit darker on the top near the face and then make it like lighter as I go to the bottom, which basically means like add more lines near the top, and then as you get to the bottom it becomes like less lines to make it lighter. Next I'm just starting to add a little bit more detail in the eye, again drawing on both eyes at the same time. I'm adding eye shines, which can vary from artist to artist. I'm just showing the way that I do it. So first I add a big circle on the bottom, and then I add these kinds of rectangular shapes near the top. I add one big one and then one smaller one next to it. I try to make these as even as I can on both sides as well, and I add 2 little eye shines as well. Before I show my style of how to do the eye detail, I'm first doing just kind of like a basic way of sketching it. So first I add some rings in the middle, as you can see here, to show kind of the pupil of the eye, or the inside. Then I'm adding some cross-hatching diagonally in the middle to create kind of like a dark area of the eye, basically. And you're going to use this kind of cross-hatching technique throughout. You add more lines on the top, and then as you go toward the bottom, you add less and less lines. So it's like more lines on top and then just fewer lines as you get to the bottom, basically. And you can also press harder on the top if you're drawing by hand, and then press lighter as you go toward the bottom, if that makes sense. And you can also layer this as well. As you can see, I'm doing kind of like diagonal in the opposite direction of the first layer of cross-hatching I added. And this also creates a nice effect. A lot of shoujo manga uses this kind of way of cross-hatching to shade the eyes, and it's basically the same thing, like make it darker on top and then go lighter as you go to the bottom. And I recommend cross-hatching separately if you're not really used to it first, and then as you get used to it, it's like easier to do these kinds of details as well. When I was in high school, my teacher gave us a chart where we had to do a gradient from the darkest cross-hatching to the lightest cross-hatching, which is basically like do a box of really dark cross-hatching and then you go lighter and lighter and lighter until you get to white, basically. So I recommend testing out like doing different kinds of cross-hatching or sketching that separately, because it's a really helpful skill to use when you're drawing manga. Okay, so next I'm gonna just show the way I like to detail the inside of the eyes. Which is a little bit different, I guess, from the standard style, but like everyone has their own way of doing it, so you know, it really depends on the artist. So I like to add these rings on the inside, which basically just follow the shape of the original oval. So as you can see, I'm doing like several lines that just create like a circular shape on the inside of the eye. And I do this twice to make 2 rings, basically. And I try not to press too hard. I press pretty light, because I don't want the detail of the eye to stand out too much, I guess. You can make it lighter in the beginning and then like press harder, make it darker as you go on afterwards. And then on the middle of the eye shines, I also kind of like to add this eye detail as well, where I do some longer lines and then shorter lines and just follow the shape of the eye shine on the bottom. And then afterwards I use the technique that I explained in the first, when I did the first eye, which is basically just a kind of cross-hatching, lighter on the bottom, and then as you go up it gets like darker, basically. Where the top can almost be like black if you make it. If you're inking it, that's probably what's gonna happen, but yeah. So it's lighter on the bottom and then darker on the top, and you make it thicker. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the eye detail. We're almost done. The last thing to do is just to put the ears in. So, I mean, a lot of times the ears are covered by the hair, but it's still good to know how to draw them because you'll still need to be able to use that. So I'm gonna teach how to do that as well. Okay, so now I'm going in to draw the ears. The way the ears line up within the face is that the bottom of the nose lines up with the bottom of the ear, which is the line I'm drawing on the side now. And the top of the ear kind of lines up with the top part of the eye, basically, or like the top of the nose, but you can't really see that here, so I'm just like lining it up with the top part of the eye. And the ear is kind of a weird shape. It's like a little bit wider on the top and then becomes thinner on the bottom. I think it might be good to practice drawing the shape separately and then kind of add it in to be able to do it later. Some people like to draw the ears just round as well, but I don't personally like that as much. I think to be able to draw this, it's good to practice from real models as well, or practice from photographs or whatever. So yeah, then the inside of the ear kind of has a lobe on the bottom, so you create like a curve on the bottom, and then just basically after that follows the shape of the ear on the inside. So yeah, here's a example of how the ear looks separately, like the shapes that you use. And then after you have that part, you just do a little bit more detail on the inside of the ear, which basically can include just some curves. Like I have one going up and then down, which is pretty basic. But there are different ways you can do this as well. I'm just showing how I do it for this character. And then I make it a little bit darker on the inside part. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm gonna be using this face for my next tutorial as well, which is basically drawing 3 different styles of hair. I'll try to have that out next week so you guys can like kind of finish this drawing. It started it using this tutorial. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you did draw something based on this tutorial, feel free to share it to me here or on social media like Instagram or Twitter or whatever. I'll make sure to look at it, and I'll most likely also repost it on my social media. So yeah, I'd be really happy to see what you guys make using this tutorial. And I'll see you next time. Bye!